Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Q&A, so let me go on ahead and put my hat on and let's knock this out. Alright, first question. I feel amazing, but deadlift strength went backwards after last training cycle when my squat and bench went forward quite a bit. Is it possible to get weaker in one lift when getting stronger in the other two, perhaps from too much volume in that lift? Alright, good question. Well, you need to remember, people get used to new gains. You get into your various training cycles, your training programs and everything, and you expect to replicate what you did as a noob. And as a noob, everything is linear. Everything flows along, and it seems like even if you stall for a short time, a few weeks later you're making progress again. When you get through your noob phases, people need to realize progress is no longer linear. That sometimes you improve on multiple exercises and one of your other big lifts goes down. It could be just too much overall training workload, not enough recovery, whatever's going on. Maybe you're overreaching too hard and not deloading enough, but there can be a lot of factors involved. Now, it particularly becomes true when you're not gaining much, if any, body weight. And that's what people need to remember. As you get more advanced, sometimes you have to gain weight to get stronger on exercises and to gain muscle involved. When it comes to something like the deadlift, though, the deadlift, this is a case to where it's a little different. Had you said your bench press regressed, I would be like, oh, you must have lost weight. If you lose 5 pounds over the course of 3 months and you're a fairly advanced lifter, expect your bench press to go down, even if your squat and deadlift go up. But in this case, the deadlift went down while the squat and the bench press went up. Bench press going up suggests that you definitely gained muscle and probably gained a little bit of body weight. So that being said, why would the deadlift go down? You have some muscle somewhere in your body that are fatigued or that have lost strength for some reason. Again, most likely due to a recovery issue, most likely due to certain muscles getting too much volume and not recovering enough that happen to be critical muscles for the deadlift. You have to remember the deadlift is a full body exercise. It works at least 70%, if not 80% of the muscle mass in your entire body. You know, people forget that just because it doesn't hit the pretty pecs and the delts doesn't mean that it doesn't work almost everything else. If you have a weak link, a stabilizer somewhere that is under recovering or that is too weak, your deadlift will find it and it will limit your deadlift. So in this case, it could be something like maybe your lower back isn't recovering or your hamstrings aren't recovering. You've got some major muscle that isn't recovering. Or it could just be your peripheral nervous system in general. This is one of the things you'll definitely notice when you have to grip the bar yourself and you're not using straps. When you're gripping the bar yourself, when your peripheral nervous system is getting too much fatigue and too much workload and it's not recovering, your deadlift will start to go down. Or you'll start to lose grip strength on top of it. It'll be one of those two things. So I think this is a case of just overall, your overall training load is too high or you're not giving yourself enough deloads. You're not undulating your training intensities quite enough. You're not getting enough deloads and you're just pushing too hard for too long. And because you're gaining weight, most likely you're probably eating enough to gain weight, your bench press is improving in spite of this, but your deadlift is suffering. That's the most likely cause here, but it could be other things, but that's what I would guess. All right, next question. So I've successfully convinced a girl in my life to come to the gym with me, and I've taught her the squat and deadlift. I want to teach her the bench and press, but her elbows are hypermobile. What alterations should I make to ensure that she's benching/pressing safely? Okay, but you need to understand with hypermobility, people who have hypermobility don't have it in one joint. That's what you need to understand. Hypermobility is usually caused by genetics, and these same people have slightly different hormone responses. They have problems sometimes producing enough collagen in their body in general, and that's what causes double jointedness. The things that you need to be aware of. Mobility work and stretching for people who are hypermobile. And if she's got hypermobile elbows, her whole body's hypermobile. Do not stretch her. Do not do mobility work. She can foam roll. All right, if you want to loosen up some tightness, foam roll. Do not stretch her. Ever. Something you need to remember there, because you're going to damage their joints. They're already too flexible. The best thing you can do is make her stronger through the range of motion that she has normally, which means exercises need to be full normal range of motion. You need to get her strong, and that will help stabilize her joints a little bit. But you need to watch for hypermobility, meaning you can train her to do a normal lockout on the bench press and stop. Or stop maybe an inch short of what would be the normal lockout so that she doesn't overextend her elbows at the top. And that'll be true of a lot of other exercises. You're going to notice it the most on the presses, because the elbows, you can really see it kick way out. Their forearms kick past the 180 degrees, so it's going to no longer just be a straight line up and down. You're going to see them overextend. But what you're going to notice, if you look, all of her joints are going to do that to some extent. So like when you saw that woman hurt her knee on the leg press, that was someone with hypermobility. Or that video that everyone saw, that's hypermobility. A normal person is not going to get hurt locking out a leg press. This is hypermobility, and a trainer not aware of their hypermobility issues. So what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to train her for the normal range of motion to be the standard range of motion, so that you don't let her overextend on exercises. And sometimes that's going to mean finding a footing placement that keeps her from hyperextending on leg exercises. So again, you got to watch things like the leg press. They can be dangerous because it allows the person to hyperextend. So be aware of it, watch for it, and get her as strong as possible through what we would think of as the normal range of motion. What you don't want to do is shortchange that, because you need her to be strong through a normal full range of motion so that it helps stabilize those joints with the muscle around them. But you need to be aware that she is just going to have less collagen. And you're going to notice too, she's going to be more prone to anxiety and other issues, because this person is probably going to overproduce adrenaline. So basically, you're going to be dealing with someone, and so you need to be aware of that when you're training her in the gym. Now, a girl in your life, I'm going to assume it's a girlfriend too. You do need to be aware hypermobility tends to come with people who overproduce adrenaline also. So just be aware she might have some PTSD-like symptoms from time to time. She might tend to overreact to things in a way that's inappropriate on occasion when she gets really stressed. But you need to understand that that's medical in nature. It's because this is someone who doesn't produce enough collagen and tends to have a strong adrenaline response to various things. So just be aware of that. But definitely make sure that you train her to be strong through a normal full range of motion. Don't have her do partial reps, but just don't let her overextend at the same time. All right, next question. How to find out how much assistance volume needed to progress optimally. All right, assistance exercises. What's the point of an assistance exercise? The point of an assistance exercise is to help you gain muscle mass. To gain muscle mass on your weak points on a lift or a body part. Well, let's throw out this term optimal, and let's just go with what's probably effective. Generally speaking, when you're seeking maximum hypertrophy of a muscle, you usually want to be somewhere in the 25 to 30 rep range in a given session on an exercise, right? So that's how much volume you need. If you decide that dips are your most important accessory for whatever reason, try to get 25 to 30 reps in. I don't care how many sets you get. Can you do a 25 rep set to failure? Okay, that's great. How about 3 sets of 10? That's also great. That's 30 reps. 25 to 30 reps is generally with enough weight to either hit failure with around 25 or to get deep metabolic fatigue with multiple sets when you equal up to close to 30. Should give you most of the muscle mass, at least 90% of the muscle you're capable of gaining in a muscle group in a single training session. So your accessory exercises need to be somewhere in that range. I don't care if it's 5x5 on a big compound. I don't care if it's one set of 25 or 26 reps. I don't care if it's 3 sets of 10. Make sure you're doing around 25 to 30 total reps for your weak link that you're doing an accessory exercise for. Pretty straightforward, because again, what's the point of an accessory movement? Generally to gain muscle in a weak link somewhere. You have a weak link that's inhibiting your performance that you need to gain muscle with. It's usually why you do them. All right, next question. Hey man, for the last 5 or so years of training, I've been able to easily manage 100 kilograms on the incline bench, even on off days. However, after going through a bad spell of drinking and depression, I'm stuck at 80 to 90 kilograms. I'm the same weight, haven't lost much muscle. What do you think? Well, haven't lost much muscle is the operative word there. You lost muscle. It's that simple, brother. Binge drinking and depression will mess with your cortisol, they'll mess with your testosterone, they'll mess with your training motivation, they'll put stress on your body that will cause you to break down some muscle tissue. That's the nature of it. Cortisol, what does cortisol do? When it gets to muscle tissue or fat tissue, it liberates calories from it. It's catabolic to both, actually. Cortisol doesn't cause people to gain belly fat. It causes them to release fatty acids, but it also causes them to release glucose from tissue proteins. When cortisol goes up, that's usually a sign that you're not consuming enough carbs at the moment as a result of training, or you've depleted glycogen to some extent. Your body needs faster carbs when it's producing cortisol. There's something going on causing that. So a lot of times what happens with that response, you break down protein. Well, where's the protein stored in your body? In your muscle tissues. So the cortisol hits that and it releases some of the amino acids, breaks them up into glucose, and kicks the nitrogen out through your urine. So yeah, all this stuff has caused you to lose motivation, break down muscle tissue, affect your recovery, and you've lost some muscle. You've lost a little bit of muscle. How do you regain it? You get back in the gym, get your diet back on point, get your rest back on point, start sleeping again, cut the drinking out. And if you've been sitting there able to do 100 kilos for a long time and you've been training 5 years, because I saw your photos of your regular poster, you're a big guy, you'll be back there in a few weeks. You're going to have to regain the muscle you lost. It might take you a month of working on it, but you've lost most likely muscle in your chest, your front delts, probably your triceps, and you're going to have to regain that muscle. It's probably not a lot. Work at it for a month, you'll be fine. But until you regain that muscle, you're not going to regain the strength. All right, next question. Is progressive overload relative to where you are currently at or your past training? Let's say 8 weeks ago I could bench 3x5 with 100 kilograms, but now I struggle with 3x5 for 90. Will I only grow once I surpass 100 kilograms, or will I still grow as I add work weight each week to that 90 kilograms? What has most likely happened, you have probably regressed and lost a little bit of muscle. You're now at a point when you're doing 3 sets of 5 with 100 kilograms on the bench, you're probably no longer a novice. And so what happens, you can lose a little bit of size, or you can lose some neural efficiency due to overreaching or whatever's going on. So you may have regressed, you may have lost a little bit of muscle mass. That's the real world. But I'm going to recommend, again, if you've lost strength on a big compound, and I mean in this case, you've lost 10% of your strength, right? From 8 weeks ago. What does that tell you about your training volumes, your training workloads? I don't have deloads in the novice program because novices don't need them. You've now reached the strength levels of an intermediate. You're going to have to learn to start deloading. You're going to have to start stepping back and saying, okay, without drugs in the mix to help my recovery, I can't do the same reps, sets, and frequency that I did 6 months ago. Why? Because it's more weight. All right, doing 5 sets of 5 with 50 kilograms is easier than doing 5 sets of 5 with 100 kilograms, no matter how strong you are. Even when the 50 kilograms was your 5x5 max, it still impeded your recovery less than the 100 kilograms does now. You're overreaching. You've overreached too far. It's time to step back, deload, adjust your programming. It's as simple as that. You've regressed. You've probably overreached to the point of where your nervous system is starting to give out a little bit. And now you're at 8 weeks, so you haven't lost muscle, but if you continue to do what you're doing and you don't adapt, you will probably start to regress until you lose a little bit of muscle mass. So that's what's going on. So you're sitting there worried about progressing again? Well, yeah, when you start progressing again later, you'll probably regain some of the muscle you lost, but right now, you've overextended your body's recovery ability. Maybe you dieted or something too. That could be a big factor. If you've lost weight, your bench press has gone down as a result of that as well. And again, that can be to a whole host of different factors. But your issue right now is a recovery issue. your peripheral nervous system is exhausted. Time to take a deload and come back stronger. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.